Hey, it's Andy Gross from the Law Office of Andrew P. Gross. We do VA disability benefits appeals for veterans all across the world, and along with some other veterans law related issues. I wanted to give a quick update out there on some important news that just broke yesterday, April 25th, 2022. I'm recording this April 26th, 2022. But here's the good news. All right. So as you may be familiar, and as I've discussed in other videos, there are things called these presumptive conditions where if you're a veteran who has certain types of exposure to certain conditions and you develop, say, certain types of cancer later on, the VA will presumptively cover you with VA disability payments for health care and whatnot. And we saw this with like Agent Orange. Vietnam vets who were in country during certain periods of time were exposed to this awful toxin called Agent Orange. Now there are a list of conditions that the science has shown us were caused by Agent Orange, like diabetes and various cancers and what have you. So here's the big news, though. For a long time, veterans of the most recent conflict, the Gulf War conflict and the global war on terror conflict, there have been these burn pits, right? And if you know what I'm talking about, if you've been in the military the last 20 years, you know what I'm talking about. These burn pits were giant open air pits where contractors would just roll any kind of garbage they could find and light it on fire to get rid of it. They weren't, recycling or taking things to the dump. It was literally big holes, doused in kerosene or diesel fuel and lit on fire, and they would burn anything from old vehicle parts to medical waste to household garbage. I mean, everything was burned in these things. And if you were downwind, you were inhaling some pretty toxic stuff and some pretty nasty particulate matter. And I've said a couple times, I think this is my generation's Agent Orange because it is definitely, we know it's causing cancers. We know it's causing various respiratory conditions. And a couple months ago, the VA finally realized that there are certain presumptive conditions that are caused by these conditions. They're caused by this burn pit exposure. So if you deployed and were near a burn pit and you suffered from rhinitis, sinusitis, or asthma, the VA will automatically presume that that was caused by your exposure to these events, right? Now, what's really important is that if you have another condition that's caused by those conditions, like a secondary condition, the VA could also potentially cover those too. So if you have sleep apnea that develops because of some sort of laryngitis or what have you that's caused by sinusitis, again, I'm not a doctor, but if you can tie it back to that, one of those three presumptives, the sinusitis, the rhinitis, or the asthma, you might be able to get those conditions covered or your chances have increased significantly. Well, we've known that it's gone, if anybody's been in this field for a while, if you've been in the veteran community, the post 9/11 veteran community, you know for a fact that you have friends that have gotten sick from burn pit exposure, right? So you know that you've got friends who've had various cancers at a way higher rate than the general population. Well, the VA just yesterday, and this is the big news, the VA just yesterday added a bunch of cancers to the presumptive list. So those cancers are, and again, it's a list, it is things like salivary gland tumors of the lung, sarcomatoid carcinoma, and I'm going to butcher some of these, salivary gland type tumors of the trachea, adenocarcinoma of the trachea, carcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma of the larynx and trachea, sarcoid carcinomas of the lung, and so on. These have been presumptively linked to burn pit exposure. So what does this mean? If you're a veteran with one of these conditions, and we're going to list it on the linked site, we're also going to link it in the description of the video and link to the press release so you can read all those and don't have to rely on my butchered pronunciations. But if you have deployed post 9/11 to Iraq, to Afghanistan, to Djibouti, to wherever these burn pits were, you were likely exposed to this particulate matter. And if you come down with one of these cancers, the VA will treat you for it free of charge at one of their hospitals. They will give you the cancer treatment, but also they will provide VA disability compensation while you're undergoing treatment. If you have any residuals or residual complications from this treatment down the road, They'll also should, unfortunately, if you pass from one of these cancers, they will pay dependency and indemnity compensation to your spouse and family. So if you are, my age, maybe a little older, if you're a veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, Djibouti, what have you, and you have one of these lung cancers or tracheal cancers or any sort of respiratory cancer, your cancers may be on the list for burn pit exposure as a presumptive condition. So I encourage you to strongly consider applying. Read some more. You can go apply through eBenefits. I've got another video on how to apply here. It's a good idea to collect some of your medical records from your private providers if you have them. Also, if you're not on the Burn Pit Registry yet, you should be on those. That's a good thing to get on to document your exposure. But the bottom line is that if you have one of these conditions, get your treatment, but also apply for VA disability benefits compensation, because there's a decent chance it's going to get covered and you're going to get disability payments covered, and it's going to give you a little bit of extra money in your pocket each month while you're undergoing these treatments and while you have this disability. If you get denied, or you're not rated high enough, or they don't capture all the secondary conditions that come from your treatment, give us a call and we'll work on your appeal. With that said, check out my other videos. I try to put out as much good information as possible, once a week or so, or when big stuff like this comes up. But again, it's a big deal that the VA has added several lung and tracheal cancers to the burn pit presumptive lists. Anyway, until next time, take care and stay safe.